Okay, I have got 3 o'clock straight up, so we are going to get started. We've got a lot of material to cover today and 200 people registered for this training. So that tells me that A, this is something that we need to be doing, right? And B, we're probably going to have a lot of questions, so we want to make sure we have time at the end to answer as many as possible. What the plan is today is to go through some material, right? And then we follow it up with demos, live demonstrations by my colleague Sydney, who did a great job yesterday in the training that we had with 300 people. So anyway, we're really excited to bring this to you, really going up. All right, this is great. So welcome to Time and Attendance Refresher Training for Timekeepers and Master Timekeepers. Thank you guys for joining us today. My name is Tracy again, and I will be facilitating this session along with some of my special guests, Tareen Flythe, who is our time and attendance guru. She has a real title, but I call her the guru in enterprise services. She's on the line with us along with one of her folks, Rhonda Sessa, and they will be able to answer all questions time and attendance related, right? Because I am not an HR professional. I can't even pronounce half of your acronyms properly. So I rely on them for that support. And I believe we are also going to have Arthur King on the line, who is from our HR Service Center, and he will also be answering questions too. So my hope is that by having all of these experts on the line, we will be able to take care of any and all questions, and they will certainly keep me honest if anything I say is remotely not correct, but I have a facilitation guide, so don't worry, I'm not winging it. Okay. Let's talk about what we're going to be doing today. We'll go to slide 2, the agenda. We're going to spend most of our time working through these 4 training modules, and we'll provide an overview of your role in completing and updating employee profiles. So we recognize that when enterprise services took over or transitioned responsibility for managing time and attendance, that things changed in our bureaus, right? Because every bureau was doing things kind of differently. Some timekeepers interacted with their employees all the time. Some timekeepers did not. You know, managers had a role in helping with timekeeping and some did not. So what we're doing is we've gone to this more standardized way of doing things, right? We are following an enterprise set of rules, right, across the board. And we recognize that that's a change for a lot of our bureaus. So no harm, no foul, right? We want to get out here and give you guys the lay of the land, explain exactly what the expectations are, give you the support that you need to provide the information and to help make sure that all of our employees are getting paid, because at the end of the day, that's really the most important thing right now, right? Stay 6 feet apart, don't touch your face, and everybody gets paid. Those are the 3 things you're going to take home from this meeting today, all right? What I'm doing right now is ad-libbing and probably driving my team crazy, so I'm going to go back to the facilitation guide. Okay, we're going to talk about your role in completing and updating employee profiles, which I already said. Then we're going to walk through adding new and existing accounts for employees to use. Next, we're going to discuss certifying and submitting employee timesheets. Then we'll talk about how to assign delegate timekeepers. That's really important too, right? If you're not around or able to certify time and all that, or validate, then we need to make sure that somebody's there to do it. Throughout the session, as I said, we'll be doing those live demos so you can see exactly what it looks like in webTA. And we'll end the course by reviewing the resources available to you after today's session. We recognize that you're probably not going to have everything in your brain every minute of every day, so we have lots of ways to help you out with that going forward. All right, we can go to the next slide, please. I should have shut my Outlook so that you're not going to hear all my emails coming in. Alrighty, this training is designed to equip you with the information and resources that you need to complete actions as a timekeeper or master timekeeper through webTA and in partnership with us, Enterprise Services. After you complete the course, you should be able to identify the role you play in completing and updating those employee profiles and adding accounts. You'll also be aware of the importance of certifying and submitting employee timesheets. Additionally, you'll understand how to ensure your responsibilities are continued during short-term absences or when separating, right? That's really important. And then finally, you'll be able to utilize those resources on the portal that we have for you. All right. As you know, enterprise services and timekeepers work together to support time and attendance for the bureaus at the department. As a timekeeper, your responsibilities include supporting timesheet completion and validation, aka time card chase, providing guidance on use of webTA accounting codes, answering questions about leave and premium pay requests, supporting webTA access issues and password resets. Notice we said supporting. Directing compliance concerns or investigations at a time submission to your Bureau Employee Relations specialists. Directing questions about official union time to the appropriate labor relations member. And submitting requests for access or removal of privileged user access. Our responsibilities at Enterprise Services are complementary to yours. They include providing guidance on time and attendance roles, like we're doing now, policies, processes, and department-wide training modules, creating webTA profiles and granting or removing privileged user access, assisting timekeepers with resolving complex webTA access issues and timesheet submission/validation errors, correcting leave errors older than 52 weeks, updating timesheet entries and leave balances in webTA based on PAR and payroll action processing, resetting webTA passwords for privileged users as needed, and resolving system issues with webTA. So all of these things together, right, help make sure that our employees are able to accurately record their time here at Commerce. Okay, we are excited to dive into an overview of employee profiles. Hopefully you're just as excited as I am. All right, this module focuses on completing and updating these profiles. After we finish this module, you'll be able to understand your role in completing those profiles for new employees. You'll be able to update an employee's supervisor or email on their profile, help employees reset their webTA passwords, and mark employee timesheets as final. Alrighty, let's go to the next slide. This is a graphic. I love these because sometimes I just need to see it as a picture, right? So this is what we have here. It's basically a visual representation of completing webTA profiles for new employees. You will all get this deck after the presentation, so you'll have this to refer back to. I believe we're sending things out like one day after the training, so probably look for it tomorrow, not today, most likely. All right, so let's talk about how these webTA profiles are created and completed. When a new employee joins the department, Enterprise Services creates a new employee's webTA employee profile. Once it's created, the manager will coordinate with the employee and you to gather information. As timekeepers, you help to complete the profile. Within 1 week of entry on duty, Enterprise Services creates that new employee's webTA profile and notifies the employee's manager that the webTA account is active. If the employee's profile is not created within this time period, please submit a ticket in the portal. As a timekeeper, you are not the person who needs to be creating that employee profile on your own. Okay, so that's an important little note there. If you see that we have not done that for some reason for them within that first week, you can let us know, create a ticket. Next, the manager works with the employee to develop their work schedule. If that employee's user ID differs from the standard format, right, and we know it differs sometimes from standard format when there's someone who already has their name in the department, right? So we have probably a lot of Susan Browns. So someone, if we've got 10 of them, their names are going to be different. Their user IDs are going to have numbers or things of that nature in them. So if that is the case, Enterprise Services is going to contact the manager and give them the employee's user ID. The manager will then tell the employee, okay? Then the manager is going to inform you, the timekeeper, of that new employee and provide you, with the employee's work schedule and any other information that you need. You will then take over the new employee in webTA and update their timesheet profile with the information the manager provided to you. Finally, on the second Monday of their EOD, the employee will be able to log into their webTA account. An employee's user ID and password is created using a default format, as we just mentioned. Employees should refer to the employee guide to logging into webTA, QRG, or Quick Reference Guide, for information on how to log in for the first time. That is something that, that QRG is something that can be found on the portal in our resources area, but we can also provide that to new employees, okay? And you will have access to it and the link in this slide deck. Enterprise Services does not actively inform employees of their user ID and password, as most credentials follow the default format. So that's something that the manager and you will work with the employee to make sure that they have that information. If for some reason that employee has difficulty logging in, they should contact their manager to see if Enterprise Services had provided special login instructions to them. All right, so Sydney is now going to demonstrate what the profile completion process looks like in webTA.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tracy. I'm super excited to walk through some demos in webTA today. I just want to let you know that I am operating in the test environment, so my access may look a little different than yours. And as a reminder, you should not practice these steps on your account, as it will have practical implications for your account employees. But like Tracy mentioned, you'll get the deck today, and the deck has all the steps that we're doing here in the demo, so you can refer to them whenever you need to. As Tracy just covered, I'm first going to show you how you update and complete new employee profiles with the information provided to you by the managers. So the first thing you need to do when you're tasked with completing an employee profile is add the employee to your list of employees. So here you can see we're on the Timekeeper main menu, and the first thing you're going to do is hit Take Over Employees. We'll wait for that to load, but it's going to give you a list of employees. You can see here you can search up at the top of an employee, or you can scroll through the list to find an employee that you're hoping to take over. Let's say, for example, we want to take over Byron. I'm going to hit Select, and then webTA will give us a notification that we successfully took over the employee. Now we're going to need to update their profile. So I'm going to go back to the Timekeeper main menu. We're going to select Timesheets. This is going to show us all the employees within your purview, and you're going to find him or the employee you added on your list. So here's Byron. I'm going to click on his user ID link. This is going to bring us to his timesheet profile. The first thing we're going to do on his timesheet profile is change his status. So the status change type is going to be Start. And then here we'll select the appropriate date that Byron starts. So let's say he's going to start on Monday. We've added that. If Byron's new to federal service, we're going to select Oath of Office. We're then going to complete the pay detail section. So this is information that your manager will likely give you, and you'll just fill it out here. Once you fill that out, you'll scroll down, and we're going to look at the auto-populated pay provider NFC section. So this should be auto-populated, but you'll want to look at it and double check to make sure it's correct and update it if you need to. After this, we're going to select Save the profile. And once again, webTA lets us know that the timesheet profile was saved. The next step that we'll do is going to make sure that the employee's email and supervisor are accurate. So to do that, we'll click on Settings here on the left-hand side. We'll see here that his supervisor is Kevin, and that looks good. And also his email address is a DOC email address, and it looks correct as well. So both those things are accurate, but if you make any changes, make sure to hit Save. And then afterwards, you'll want to inform the employee that you've updated their profile. And so that's how you complete a new employee profile. And I'll pass it back to you, Tracy.
All right, now we are moving on here to taking over employees. It sounds a little bit sinister, but I don't think it is. As a timekeeper, you can add any employee in your organization to your list of assigned employees, including new employees and employees assigned to other timekeepers. So if another timekeeper is leaving the Department of Commerce, you can use the takeover employee to reassign that timekeeper's employees to your group, making you their official timekeeper. If you leave the timekeeper role or separate from the department, you should make sure another timekeeper takes over your employees. If the employee has transferred from another bureau, you will need to contact Enterprise Services by submitting a timekeeper inquiry in the portal to have their employee's organization changed in webTA so that their name appears in your search. That's really important. Please note that timekeepers can only take over employees within their organization. And we did have a question yesterday that I want to just answer now in case someone else has that question. Someone asked, should I transfer all of my employees before I leave the organization? The answer is yes. Do that, arrange that with whomever you're going to be transferring your employees to before you out process, because if I'm not mistaken, you can't out process until all those people are reassigned to someone else. I'm pretty sure that's what Tareen said yesterday. So just wanted to put that out there, pre-answering questions to make your customer experience better. And now I will turn it over to Sydney so that she can demonstrate taking over employees, which isn't scary at all.
Thanks so much, Tracy. As Tracy said, it's not scary, and we walked through these steps earlier when completing a new employee profile, but it'll be the same if you're adding an existing employee. We can see here that we're back at the Timekeeper main menu. I'm going to select Take Over Employee. And then we're going to find, once again, either scrolling through the list or using the search feature for the employee we want. So let's say we want to take over Jacob. We'll hit Select. And then webTA confirms that we've successfully taken over the employee. And that's all there is to it for employee takeover. Back to you, Tracy.
All right, let's move on to how to update information on employee profiles. Similar to how you might update an employee's information when you're completing a new employee profile, you can also update your assigned employees' profiles at any time. It's important to make sure critical information is accurate, such as an employee's supervisor or email. Please be sure to inform the employee via email whenever you have updated their profile. We're not going to demo this today because we walked through these steps in the completing a new employee profile. We just wanted to include these steps here for your reference. Okay. Resetting employee passwords. As a timekeeper, you can help employees reset their password if they're unable to access their webTA account. If an employee forgets their password, they can use the Forgot Your Password link on the webTA homepage to send a password reset link to the email address they have on file. Where we run into problems here is if the email address in webTA is not correct, right? That's when the employee is not going to get that email and they'll need your assistance to reset their password. So first, you'll want to make sure to verify that the employee's Department of Commerce email is entered correctly in the profile and update that email if you have to. Then enter a new password that is different from the existing one and click Save. And finally, communicate that new password to the employee and encourage them to change it as soon as they log in with it. And Sydney, once again, I'm going to pass it over to you to demonstrate this very important feature.
Perfect. Thanks, Tracy. So we're going to return back to that Timekeeper main menu. You'll see like this is your one-stop shop for anything you need webTA-wise. I want to select Timesheets. This is going to pull up your list of employees. And let's say that Byron forgot his password and doesn't have the correct email address. So we're going to select his user ID link. We're then going to select Settings on the left-hand side menu, which will take us to his employee profile. And right here, we'll enter his new password, and we'll also retype that password. And as a note, you should make sure the password is at least 12 characters, and it shouldn't be a dictionary word, but it should be something that you can easily share with Brian, and so that way he can reset it himself. So I'll enter a new password here. And then I'm going to click Save. And I'll say that employee profile successfully saved, so you know the password went through. And then your next step is just to email your employee, let them know the new password, and that they can log in and reset it themselves. The next thing I'm going to show you while we're here in webTA is how to mark an employee's timesheet as final. So we showed you how to complete a new profile, but if you have an employee who's separating from the Department of Commerce or is transferring to the Patent and Trademark Office, you'll also need to mark their timesheet as final, so that way you stop the time cards. So for this, we're going to return to the Timekeeper main menu. And once again, we're going to select Timesheet. We're going to find the employee that is separating. So let's say Johnson is separating. From here, we're going to go back to the status change where we were earlier for completing a profile. And now we're going to select End for a status change type. For status change day, we're going to select the last day that Johnson is working for Commerce. So let's say it's going to be week 1 Friday. We are then going to select final report, so webTA knows it's their last report, and we're going to scroll down and click save. And you can see here the timesheet profile was saved. So this lets webTA know that your employee is separating, and that's all there is to marking an employee's timesheet as final. I'm going to pass it back over to you now, Tracy.
Thank you, Sydney. You're doing a masterful job of demonstrating all of these functions. All right, so let's go to module 2, adding accounts. We're going to talk about how to add accounts in webTA. This module is going to provide an overview of the importance of ensuring that you have delegated your responsibilities so they can be completed in your absence. At the end of this module, you'll be able to add existing accounts to your timekeeper accounts list, add new accounts for your timekeepers accounts list, and know the difference between stored and manual entry accounts. All right, as a timekeeper, you can add existing accounts to your timekeeper accounts list in webTA. This allows additional accounts to be available for your employees to add to their timesheets. We're not going to demo this today. We've included these steps here for your reference. Again, you'll get this deck after the meeting. From the Timekeeper main menu, select Accounts, click on Get Accounts from the My Accounts page, and then click the Select button next to the desired account. Easy peasy. All right, next slide, please. Here's how we add new accounts. As a timekeeper, you can add new accounts to your timekeeper accounts list in webTA. While uncommon, you may occasionally be asked by an administrative officer within your organization to add a new account. From the Timekeeper main menu, select Accounts. Under Create New Account from the My Accounts page, enter the values that make up the new account. Finally, you will click Create to add the new account to the My Accounts table. All right. Updating accounting types. So again, as a timekeeper, you can also add update the accounting types for how your employees access their accounts. These are 2 types that are frequently used in webTA. One is manual account entry, which requires that the employee search for and select an account for each line in pay and dollar transactions. This is the default option in webTA. Stored account means that the previous pay period's accounts roll over, so employees do not have to enter them manually. This is most appropriate when accounts don't change very often. Note here, if the final pay period of the fiscal year contains dates in both the current and the next fiscal year, manual account code entry must be used to accurately submit time for this pay period. If this is going to be happening, enterprise services will work with timekeepers to communicate that requirement. So you don't have to be on top of that by yourself, no worries. Okay, next slide. You can update the accounting type for an employee on their timesheet profile to change how they access their accounts across pay periods. From the Timekeeper main menu, click on Select Timesheets. Find the employee's name in the list of timesheets and click on their user ID link. On the employee's timesheet profile, update the accounting type to Stored Account or Manual Account Entry. If you select Stored Account, you'll need to select the account. Click Select. Search for the account. Click the Select checkbox next to the appropriate code, and then return to the timesheet profile and select Save at the bottom of the page. All right, that was a lot of information. Moving on to Module 3, certifying and submitting employee timesheets. All right, we're going to walk through these. In this module, we're going to provide information about the process and the importance of certifying and submitting employee timesheets. After you complete this module, you'll be able to know your role in the certification and submission of employee timesheets and understand how to coordinate the certification of late timesheets. Hopefully we don't get many of those. All right, here we go. Another visual representation of the process. I hope you find these as helpful as I do. You, employees, and managers and supervisors all have important roles to play in submitting and certifying time in webTA. The first part of this process is certifying and validating timesheets that are being submitted on time. First, the employee validates his or her own timesheet in webTA on the second Friday of each pay period by 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Now that is something that I have always done as part of Office of the Secretary, but I recognize that some of our other Bureau colleagues weren't as stringent about the submission of time on the second Friday of each pay period by 5 p.m. So that I know is a change. We'll help you enforce that, but we hope that you are working to hold your own employees accountable for this, because it really just makes things a lot easier and uniform across the entire webTA platform. So as timekeepers, you will then validate that timesheet if your employee is absent. So hopefully they took care of it before they left, but in the event that they are unable to certify their timesheet for some reason, you can go ahead and validate those timesheets for them. All right, next, the manager certifies the accuracy of the employee's time on the first Monday of the next pay period by 3 p.m. Then the second half of this process is coordinating to resolve any timesheets that were uncertified. So the hope is that everything gets approved, certified, validated, the whole 9 yards by Monday at 3 p.m. But just in case that doesn't happen, beginning on Tuesday, following the end of the pay period, we ask that you pull the uncertified timesheets report from webTA by 10 a.m. Eastern, for those of you who may be in other time zones. All right, so timekeepers pull the uncertified timesheets report by 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Enterprise Services pulls the CULP 13 report, I guess around the same time, it doesn't specify here. If there are any timesheets that have not been certified, you will coordinate with the employee or manager to finalize the timesheet by 3 p.m. that day. And Enterprise Services will also notify you by noon that day to coordinate with the employee or manager for resolution. So we hope that you're able to do it on your own, but we will remind you and let you know if there are folks who need you to talk to them by noon that day. And then finally, a timesheet is complete when all involved parties submit, validate, and certify the information. I love these graphics. Sid, to help drive home these points, can you please give us a demo?
For sure. So as Tracy mentioned, about the second half of the process is helping identify any timesheets that were not submitted correctly. So I'm going to walk you through how to pull that report. So as she mentioned, at the start of a new pay period, timekeepers are responsible for pulling the uncertified timesheets report from webTA and coordinating the certification of late timesheets. You can also use the unvalidated timesheets report to identify if it's the employee or the supervisor that needs to take action. So we're back on the Timekeeper main menu, and from here, we're going to click on Reports. You can see here all the reports that webTA offers. We care about these last two. So we're first going to select uncertified timesheets. Here, we're going to add a report header, so I might just call it May, and then you're going to select the pay period that you're interested in. So from here, I'm going to do a pay period in April, and match it here, and then I'm going to hit Run Report. It's going to generate a report both in webTA and also an option to download it as an Excel or HTML or CSV file, which you can then save to your computer. So you can see here, it's generated a report for us, and then in the corner, you're going to have the options to download it as an Excel or any file of your choosing, and that will just save it to your computer. For this step, you'll do the same thing for the unvalidated timesheets report. You'll be in the reports page, and you're going to just click here and do the same exact steps to run that report as well. And that's how you help pull the uncertified and unvalidated timesheets report. And I will pass it back to you, Tracy.
Moving on, Module 4, we're talking about assigning delegate timekeepers. All right, module will provide an overview of the importance of making sure that you delegated your timekeeper responsibilities so they can be completed in your absence. So we're going to show you how to assign delegate timekeepers. We're going to, at the end of the training, you'll understand the importance of communicating with other timekeepers and supervisors. That is very important. As the Director of Communications at Enterprise Services, I'm constantly reminded of the importance of communicating, right? So we're going to drive that one home. All right, next slide, please. In the event that you take a much-deserved vacation or are otherwise unable to complete your timekeeper duties, you should have a delegate timekeeper who can complete those tasks in your short-term absence. You'll need to assign a delegate timekeeper in webTA so they can complete tasks during any short-term absence on your part, okay? Before you do that, make sure you confirm with that intended delegate that they are willing and able to cover your timekeeper responsibilities. That sounds like a no-brainer to me, but you would be surprised at how many people try to delegate other people who are on a detail or have left the agency or, you know, are also on vacation at the same time. So we just want to make sure that we cover all the bases here. So yeah, just reach out to that person and make sure they're willing and able to take care of that for you. Also, it's important that on an ongoing basis, you make sure your delegates, oh yeah, see, have not left the organization or are no longer a timekeeper. I will say we found out when we first took over timekeeper or time and attendance that a lot of folks that we thought were timekeepers are no longer timekeepers. So they got a lot of annoying emails from me and I apologized for that. But yeah, so we need to make sure that, you know, we check all this stuff out before we just assume that someone can be our delegate or that they're still our delegate. So yeah, I mean, crucial communication here with those timekeepers as well as your supervisor so that your supervisor knows who your delegate timekeepers are. And you should also make sure that you're asking your supervisors who their delegates are for approving time cards, right? Because then you know who you're communicating with when you have to say, hey, John Brown didn't certify his time again or validate his time. I'm not using the right terminology, but you know, and Tareen has had to make those phone calls for me because I'm one of her worst offenders, which is ironic that I'm giving this training. But anyway, lastly, if you are leaving the timekeeper role or separating from the Department of Commerce, please coordinate with other timekeepers to make sure that you are removed as a delegate for them, right? So this is a lot of communicating that needs to go on here. And now I will pass it to Sydney so she can demonstrate this.
Awesome, thank you so much. So this will be the last webTA demo of the day. And as Tracy mentioned, it's super important that you've assigned at least one delegate timekeeper in webTA to complete your responsibilities in your absence. And in order to do this, we'll return to the timekeeper main menu. We're then going to select My Delegate. Here you can see that I already have 3 timekeepers that are serving as my delegate, but let's say I want to add one more. I'll click on Add Delegate. And then I can either select a timekeeper through this list, or I can search for them in this box. Let's say I've already talked to and asked Aaron to serve as my timekeeper. I'll select their box, and then I'm going to hit Select Check Users. And webTA informs me that I've successfully delegated timekeeper to one user, and you can see Aaron right here in my table that they are now serving as my delegate. And it's as easy as that, and I'm going to pass it back over to Tracy.
All right, awesome. This is pretty easy stuff, I think. I'm really happy that we have this format with the demonstrations and stuff. Thanks for doing that, Sid. All right, so now we are going to talk about resources and we're going to do our Q&A. We've still got 16 minutes. We're going to wrap up the presentation, just talk really quickly about the resources that you have available for all this information that we just shared with you. You can find it when you need it if there are questions that you have later. So if we go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so timekeepers, employees are going to be coming to you, right? And this may have been the way you did things all along, or it may be relatively new since you started working with enterprise services. But what we really want to emphasize here is employees should always direct their time and attendance questions to their timekeeper. We want you all to be their POC for all things time. Depending on that question, right, you can either answer it, you can submit an inquiry to enterprise services through the portal if you need help answering the question. We have a submit timekeeper inquiry tile under the services for timekeepers, right? If the employee has a time and attendance question, they should first contact you. We do not want them contacting enterprise services directly for time and attendance questions. We're here for you as your resource, right? And you're their resource. If you decide you can resolve their issue, you can go ahead and take care of it. If you don't know the answer, that's when you would submit an inquiry to the enterprise services portal. And you can see here we show. And enterprise services would then provide the answer to you via the portal, which you can then share with the employee to resolve their question. Hopefully that will not happen often for you. I'm sure that a lot of the questions that you guys get, you can answer right away, but we're happy to help you if there are other things that we can do for you. All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so here's a very valuable slide I think you'll find. This is all of the things, right? We say all the things a lot in enterprise services. All of the things that you could have questions about. These are job aids, right? Frequently asked questions. There's stuff for, you can see here, maybe where am I thinking? Time and attendance responsibility. So if you have questions about what your role is, right? What we're supposed to be doing, what you're doing. And then of course, inquiries, right? If you need to know how an inquiry is getting submitted, if you need to know what your role is on those things, that's all here. And then finally, webTA privileged user access questions. All these are down here. And some of these you might need to provide to the employee themselves, right? So if they had a question, you can submit this, you can download these and give them to the employee. Like the one that comes to mind for me is, you know, a new employee using webTA. How do I do this? We have a QRG for that. All right, we can go to the next slide. More, oh, okay, yeah. And that was more links to more, here's the ones for employees and things. All right, next. This is our information. This is how you get in touch with us. Email down below here, enterprise services HR@doc, and the portal, of course. And you'll know participation and tell all your timekeeper friends about our training.